You're watching Morning Live. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, unemployed South Africans can now apply for the monthly social relief of disaster special grant that's available for a period of 3 months as a temporary provision against the COVID-19 pandemic. And thereafter, if there are no changes to the person's situation, they may then apply for a further 3 months. Now, requests will be verified against already existing government databases in order to ensure that only those who qualify, that means qualifying applicants, can actually access this grant. And at a media briefing yesterday addressed by the Department of Social Development, the South African Social Security Agency, SASSA, and the National Development Agency Department explained the criteria that needs to be followed by applicants. Now, Social Development Minister Lindiwe Zulu also mentioned that about 1,800 additional social workers will be employed in order to assist with this process, amongst others. And the minister joins us now. Minister Zulu, thanks so much for your time and welcome to Morning Live once again.
Thank you very much for your invitation, and good morning to you and good morning to your viewers.
Minister, let's just start by looking at some statistics. Do you have any idea at this stage in terms of the numbers? How many people are likely, from what you are seeing at the moment, to request relief?
Well, we're looking at the number of unemployed South Africans, which runs to 8 million to 10 million. That's the estimated number. But we also know that number might be slightly less or whatever the situation is. So we are looking at that 8 to 10 million people who might end up applying. But because we've got a very strong system of connecting to other social grant recipients and people who are going to get UIF, people who are going to get any other form of government grant, those people must not apply that already have any form of grant from government in particular.
So speaking of people who already have grants, that means any other category of grant recipient therefore does not qualify. But there are questions around students who receive NSFAS, Minister, the national funding from the National Student Financial Aid Scheme.
No, even those ones are not unemployed people. Those are students who are also getting a NSFAS from government. Even those ones should not apply.
So I hope that answers questions to many who have written about this, because some of the students are saying that they are with UNISA and NSFAS only covers their tuition. So do they then qualify for this grant?
No, they do not qualify for this grant. They definitely do not qualify, and we've made it very clear to them that here's the issue. People who are normally waking up in the morning and going and working, losing those jobs. People who wake up in the morning and go and hustle and do gardening and do all sorts of things, they do piece jobs, that has come to an end to millions of them because of lockdown. They can't move to do those things. People who under normal circumstances would have been eking some living one way or the other, selling something by the street and all that. A lot of that is gone from them. So those are the people that we are focusing on, because those are the people that still have their families to feed. Those are the people that were doing things for themselves, by the way. They were not waiting anywhere for government to come and give them anything. They were getting up and going somewhere to do something that brings some money, some finance into their hands in order for them to take care of their families.
Minister, let's get to the actual process of application now. And this is something that your department has been working around the clock on. But I'm looking at a screen grab right now, and I've received this one several times, where people are saying they get to a certain level and then they get stuck because the message they receive back, and I'm going to quote what this reads, it says, I don't understand, I'm only a robot, and although I love to help, I have a few shortcomings. So people are complaining that they are still struggling with the system. How much of this are you aware of, and what is the solution, Minister?
I'm very much aware of it because I'm getting from SASSA and from the technical team as well as the CEO. They keep giving me the figures, and I'm expected to get the figures again by 8 this morning. As I said earlier on, that we were sure that we might come across these kind of problems, but we've got a technical team that's sitting there and looking at all these things and saying, how do we resolve them? Secondly, I also would like to say to you, you spoke about social workers being employed to do this. It's not social workers, it's volunteers. Volunteers who fall under national development agencies, but also we are looking at other methods of using other people in communities who can be able to move and assist people. And then some of the SASSA offices are opening, but there's going to be very, very few people who are going to be in those offices because we still have to adhere to the COVID protocols. We can't open our office. So it's a plea also for people not to rush to the SASSA offices because even when they open, they firstly need to make sure that the offices themselves are ready for people to come back to the offices.
Minister, you speak about volunteers manning these systems. We know there are people who may have become grant recipients as per the law during this lockdown period, and they would not have had opportunity to apply as yet. So is this process for people to volunteer, is it open? Because there really is a huge plight out there, and I think there are many South Africans who would like to help.
Yes, we would have loved to open it up as much as possible because, listen, when we see volunteers, we also see people who volunteer because in many instances are finding themselves in a difficult situation and they're looking at what they can get out of volunteering. The volunteering process, we can't take too many people because, again, we can't have too many people on the streets. We still have to appreciate the fact that we've got this problem. And the volunteers, we are using local communities, and because this volunteering process is not new because of COVID. There's other things that we've done in the past and have a list of volunteers, but also at local government, they have batches of volunteers here and there, so we're working with them. Would have loved to pull more because we knew that if we pull more and they get some stipend, it's also a way of assisting our people, but unfortunately we can't take too many of the volunteers.
And then, Minister, a question here from Hendrika, who asks, can you please ask the Minister, how long does it take for them to respond to our email applications? And perhaps just as a follow-up on that particular question, Minister, how many people have you successfully registered to date on this 350 social relief grant?
Unfortunately, I can't answer the question of how many, because that's what I was saying. At 8, I'm supposed to get the briefing because this is a highly technical process, and so I cannot give that number right now, but I'm sure we can give the number later because we want to keep the turnaround process to be as short as possible. However, we stretched and said, let's say 7 days, we must be able to within 7 days, we must be able to come back to people because, as a matter of fact, we need to make sure that we're going to be paying the right people. And so the turnaround time depends also on whether information has been given and given fully. And so can I come back to you about exactly the figures and exactly the turnaround time? Because we've just started. So we do need to have an evaluation of what has happened since yesterday when we launched at 12 to now. And I know that the technical people have been working. I will get the report from the CEO and we'll continue feeding into yourselves if you can please allow us to do that, because if there are challenges, we do have to keep on answering. Even the CEO can be reached out to give more information because she's the one that's looking at it on day-to-day basis. She's got the technical team by her.
And I'm glad you are saying that, Minister, because people are becoming despondent. I'm looking at a few tweets as this interview progresses. Someone said they've been trying because the system was said to have gone live at 12 yesterday afternoon, and they've been trying since 12:01. no response. Another one on a similar thread, a Zulu man with some power says, why did SASSA give us numbers that don't work? What's the purpose of sending the emails and WhatsApp messages if they're not going to get any responses from ignorant people? So perhaps this is an opportunity to speak to people's frustrations in this regard, Minister.
Yes, absolutely. I wasn't thinking that it's going to be as easy as it is, because remember that SASSA also had to find a way of improving its own system. Hence, we didn't go out and look for someone else to do this for us, because we also saw this as an opportunity of upgrading some of our systems. You know, SASSA has been paying social grants for a very, very long time. So SASSA has got the technical expertise and the technical know-how, and I know that in the past they used some other systems, and then there's issues around that. We're dealing with that. That's something on the side altogether. But right now, I would like to also plead with people that they really have to be patient with the system, because I tried it myself. I tried the WhatsApp yesterday, and I was just testing it. I made through. I've got a child in the house here who's unemployed, and he's already almost 25 years old. I told him to also apply, because he's got the right to also do that, to apply. I tried it and it went through. So it is possible that we are going to come across these challenges where the system gets clogged. And they already told me by yesterday to say the system that got clogged was the WhatsApp system, and they were going to be working on it overnight. And so I am also going to ask the CEO this morning that as soon as they clear it, they must do the interviews, they must explain to people what's going on. The technical people must be available for us so that we can be able to explain what's going on. And I'm very much sure that other people are going to be frustrated, but other people are getting through.
And I'm glad you are trying it, Minister, because I've also been trying it just to get a sense of exactly what is going on. But with regard to some of the other issues, Minister, people want to know how exactly will they be notified that their application, one, has been successful, and of course, two, people are worried about actually getting paid. So we know that you said previously that the money should be disbursed from the 15th. How long will that payment run be for the first month?
Well, we're going to be running until the end of October, if I understand you very well. We're starting on the 15th to pay those that have already been successful in it, because it's not to say when you apply and then you think you're going to get it immediately. You have to apply, you have to wait for us to clear it and make sure that we're going to pay the right person. The same way that you applied, you will get the message that says you have been successful, and therefore the choice that you have either is you're going to be a bank account, and I think the ones who have bank account is going to be quicker for them, because that's usually the easiest way, because people have the bank account. The same way that people are applying, the same way they will get the notification. I also think that we are going to work around the clock to make sure that where there's glitches, where there's clogging, we sort it out. Remember that we had a problem with the social grants where we had the technical glitches, and by the morning we had sorted it out, and everybody who had not been paid was paid. And then those that were paid double, we have to see what is it that we're going to do to retrieve that money. So this is a system, and it's a technical system, but we do our best to make sure that we lessen the frustration for people, because we are conscious and understand that people need the money, people are desperate, and so we're going to do our best to make sure that we minimize the problems that people are talking about.
Minister, a tweet from Bonginkosi who says, Sakina, please ask the Minister, if you've applied for the grant, are you going to know you have been approved? I think Minister just answered that. And please ask her, they keep talking of food parcels in Darvel, which is a small township. I've never had anyone receiving them. Where do you actually get them, these food parcels? So just regarding that, Minister, the distribution of food parcels, you said that councillors shouldn't, be hands-on. but they should be used to identify the needy families within their wards and constituencies. Isn't there a more accountable way or system that could be utilized and audited to ensure accountability in this regard if people are saying they are not receiving these food parcels, yet we know that money is being paid and they are being distributed?
There has always been a system of SASSA, tried and tested. That is the system of distributing food through our CNDCs. That one is a system that has always been there, and it's an old system that started as way back as 2013. All our systems have been there and accountable because they are systems that were built through a period of time. The challenge that we had right now was the fact that when COVID landed on us and we had a lockdown and people had to now be at home, we needed to expand that. By the way, the Solidarity Fund that is independent is using the very same system, which is a tried and tested system. So the one who says they haven't seen anything, I would ask my guys to just get the details later from yourself. But the system that we are using are not new, and that system is accountable. Anybody can check. That system also is not something that we do as the Department of Social Development in terms of the distribution. The provinces, through the MECs, through the regional managers of SASSA, are responsible for that. And that system never went to councillors to give them any food parcels. The councillors always identified in their areas the families that they know that are families really who are in distress. It's independent people who are given the contract to do the distribution, and that had nothing to do with any political party or any politician whatsoever, because it's an administrative process. Once SASSA has given somebody the contract to do that, they do that without connecting or without having any councillor carrying any food parcels. So that system is accountable. But also we must appreciate that we've got other people, NPOs, who have stepped up to say they are willing to help. There's so much food in South Africa. I didn't realize there was so much food in South Africa. So they are out there being the one who are distributing the food to these people. And the NPOs are NPOs that are independent. Some of them are paid. They're not paid. They get money from social development, and they distribute that money, those food parcels. If they happen to connect to councillors, we are pleading with them. They must not give the food parcels to the councillors. They must just have the councillors helping them identify the communities. But also communities know their leaders. And therefore, one would expect that when the NPOs go to any area, they must go having contacted the local leaders, whether church leaders or any other leaders, to help them with the distribution of the food, because there's got to be dignity also in the distribution of food. Nothing pains me than seeing people running and chasing food parcels. It's not a very pleasant thing to see, and we want to change that as a Department of Social Development in the future, to say, how else can we empower our people or power our people to power themselves?
And just a final question, Minister, from Marvin, who says, please ask Minister, what actions would be taken towards people who are charging vulnerable South Africans for applications for this relief grant? Are you aware of that, Minister?
Yes, we are very much aware. In fact, this is not only just for this. People are charging vulnerable people for a whole range of services which are not supposed to be charged for, because in South Africa, we know that we have the problem of poverty, unemployment, and inequality, and that causes some people not to exactly know what to do. Sometimes people are even afraid of even doing that WhatsApp and reading what's in that WhatsApp, so others take advantage of that. Those authorities who are prowling on the streets of South Africa, and we don't want those people. They are insensitive to the needs of the poor. We are aware of that, and people must report that. Of course, now the situation is very difficult because people can't easily move, go to the police station, do all that. COVID is making it much more difficult for us, but I'm 100% sure that we'll keep trying, getting new systems doing things in a different way. We are aware, it has been reported to us that there are people who are charging for that service.
Minister, unfortunately out of time. We're going to have to leave it there. Thanks so much for your time, Minister of Social Development Lindiwe Zulu, explaining some of the processes pertaining to the COVID-19 Social Relief of Distress Fund for Unemployed South Africans. And this is where you can access a monthly temporary special grant of 350 Rand. I'm going to say to you, keep trying and keep us in the loop so that we can keep getting answers on your behalf.